Ryan. Hey,
Hey,
everybody.
hey Jay, how's it going?
Oh, pretty well. Been one of those crazy weeks, but that's kind of awesome.
Yeah, I hope it's crazy in a good way.
It is. It's been pretty awesome. I mean, there's lots of good stuff for work, lots of good stuff for Magic, lots of fun going on. I mean, Mythic Championship this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Pretty exciting, and that's what a lot of the decks today are focused on. Basically, they published the decks for the Mythic Championship, and that sort of looked like an interesting place to compare where the decks I had been working on to see where the decks the different pros had gotten to.
Right.
What I find fascinating, and I just want to, it's a deck we're probably not going to go into. Esper, the Karn dancing Karn deck with Doom and Dance and Karn.
Uh-huh.
No one else has that, and that deck plays at a solid 2 out, at least 60%, maybe 70% against that field. Which I'm sort of disappointed no one came in with it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and the difference is clearly Karn, but also weirdly one of the MVPs for this current format, which is Golos of all things. I've noticed I've been playing it more and more. I'll use Karn to fetch Golos in the dancing Karn deck, and then because I've got those stupid rocks, I have all 5 colors.
You can just do it.
I can just do it because that deck's a little mana heavy anyway. And so, anyway, I suspect there may be a build that just foregoes Karn even and just goes with Golos, which sort of leads into some interesting insights about Mythic Championship right now. So if folks had had a chance to take a look at it, the decks are basically, there's no mono red, which shocked me. There are very few actually 2-color decks. There are Jund Sacrifice. And maybe it's me. I kind of hate playing that deck. It is, and it's a UI thing more than anything else.
Oh, we've
I
talked about
hate,
that on stream. We're all with you.
oh, I am
But
so glad. It is, I mean, I hate playing it. I hate playing against it. It's not that I dislike playing against red-black aggro. It's not that I mind being drained out. It's the UI.
oh yeah, when
So
somebody plays a cat or an oven against me on turn one and I don't have stakes, I scoop. I just don't have time in my life to play that game.
So in 2008, I got into an argument with all of R&D on a card for that exact purpose. Now, understand, I had a unique perspective because I was Mr. Duels back then, and I was arguing against a card, and I got roundly shut down. And my argument was, this card has a terrible interface almost any way we do it inside of the Duels engine or the Magic Online engine, and for that reason the cards shouldn't be shipped. Thankfully it got killed for some other reason, which involved the layering rules in the Magic system because it exposed them too much. But anyway, the
And
point
unlike
was,
the ally and the magic rules,
unlike this was a singleton card though, so it wasn't anything critical for the format. It was just rules bad. It basically made a version of marching around enchantments that came in timestamp order that was relevant.
oh, okay,
I
wow.
mean, it was awful.
So, but it was some sort of opalescence style card, some sort of.
It was opalescence, but with lots of individual little nitpicking
Which is to say,
of
also
things
Dance
from
of the
different
Manse is another
zones.
example.
Yeah, but Dance of the Manse, we at least came up with, because that pop-up interface, that was something the folks at Stainless came up with. So we had a graveyard picker, and but this was multiple zones of that simultaneously. I mean, it was awful.
Wow.
But anyway, the point is, back to on the format issues. We've got
It wasn't
the
a printed
aggro,
card, by the way.
but it didn't print. It never made it out.
So it doesn't even
Thankfully.
matter. The description is all that exists of it anyway.
Yeah, so Jund Sacrifice is really the primary aggro. The other decks either sort of break, well, Jund Sacrifice, I don't really count the Golgari decks as quite aggro. They're almost rock or mid-range aggro. They don't really put early fast pressure on you. They just have infinite creatures and build up to giant big creatures, which is sort of rockish, and of course, there's a lot of fires decks.
Right, fire
Um,
seems everywhere.
right. So the rogue decks were the things I sort of concentrated on. I skipped talking about and looking at Azurus Control, although there are 3 copies of it. It's not the deck is bad. It's just the deck has nothing that we haven't talked about on the stream before. It's perfectly reasonable to play and it's trivial to build.
Hmm.
The only real insight that people had, which was, I think we had gotten there, was you play as many Gadwicks as you can, because Gadwick is just Hydroid Craxus,
Monocolored.
well, still a few different quirks, but effectively it's the same thing.
It,
The creature's not as good, it's more counterable, but it's monocolor, and whatever, it's close enough.
yep.
But there's nothing really that interesting in the Azorus Control. Now, I felt 2 decks super interesting, and that's what I wanted to talk about today.
Okay.
One of them you're going to love to death, especially since I had been working on it, and I'm afraid that Alexander Hain, who has the sole Esper control, he only got half of the answer, so I don't think he'll do really well. But in all fairness, I got the other half of the answer.
Is that the
What I'm
Post-Oko
presenting.
control?
Yeah, Post-Oko Control. Go ahead and play that. This thing is awesome.
Let's take a quick look and then we'll
It
dive in.
is. And let's look at some of the really unique text. So notice a big 2 of Bola Citadel sitting there.
Nice.
That's your answer to fires and everything else. You go absolutely, because if you think about the fires deck, it does nothing until it kills you. It hits you for 20. What that
Right.
means is you've got the ability to come into a Bola Citadel with 20 life, and you go crazy. They will never get another turn. This deck can just beat you, or at least stack up a bunch of counter spells, both in hand with mana or on top of the deck.
All right.
So that's pretty awesome. Also, notice the 5-drop. Oh no, stay up in the 5-drop for a second. Notice the creature guy, the Kenrich.
Yeah, it's usually a fires play because you can activate all those abilities on your opponent's turn with all that mana you're saving. What's the role here?
So 2 things. First of all, if you got 20 life, just drop it out. And then it's just like fires with the Citadel.
Mm-hmm.
Which is pretty awesome. It's also actually, there's not a lot of removal against it other than Murderous Rider, and they're going to consume their Murderous Riders on your 3-drop Planeswalkers.
Mm-hmm. True.
Not to mention you've got counter spells, and if you get it out with other things, it was the part of the puzzle I didn't have. Now, what I put into the deck and what I had tweaked, the bottom end was a little bit wonky. You really, really want a couple of cries, because they solve some of those janky problems with the recursion decks in black, the oven ones. Because remember, if you play it, it doesn't matter what order they do their oven sacrifice, it still removes the card.
Well, if they get the cat into the graveyard, though. Oh, that's right. No, you're right. Yeah,
No,
sorry.
it pulls it. It doesn't matter.
Because of the weird wording on this
it.
card, right?
I almost want, depending on your format, if you're playing in some of the lower levels, you want to go up to 4 of those in this deck, because there is no aggro that doesn't get crushed by it.
All right, I'm putting in one more right now because I hate Cat Oven so much, and I'm playing at a lower rank. What should we cut?
A drop of one of the Dooms.
Okay.
I think 2.5 is the right number of those.
All right.
Go ahead and give that a whirl.
Let's jump in. We're just going to do standard ranked, where I've been playing a lot of mono blue tempo, but also Dancing Karn, Doom Control. Anyway, we'll go Post-Oko Control. Here we go.
Yeah, this is sort of the deck I wish you had to see in the Mythic Championship.
All right, I like it. Bring on the
Okay,
cats.
absolutely, and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and a lot of the hands are a lot like this. You're not a Doom deck. Doom is just there because you have a little bit of junk in it. It's better than putting disenchants in.
Sure.
It's just more versatile.
Got a question about competitiveness of UR Blue Red Draw 2.
Um,
Any chance? Any hope?
Yeah, I see the question, and it looked like it might have been promising, and there's UR Flash that has some hope.
Yeah, there's a Blue Red Flash deck that is, I think, as close as you're going to get. But if that deck isn't running the kind of draw 2 package stuff that you're looking for, it means it's not really good enough, or else that deck would be doing that, you know? Or
Yeah,
it hasn't been discovered yet. I mean, somebody's got to figure it out. Somebody's got to break it, right? But
part of the problem is Fire's just so strong. I mean, that's just what it gets to.
which part, D, you're talking about, didn't take this one that we're playing, or the Golos Fire?
Or yeah, which deck?
All right, gotta survive one more turn, and then we get to wipe them out with a cry. I guess we might as well go Grave since we have no turn 2 play here. Enter it tapped.
So I think let me answer that actually from all aspects. So, again, people attempted Esper control, or at least a person did. This deck was halfway tried by one player. The real question is, why didn't the big teams go with it? Because remember, most of your decks are coming from a few different teams or houses. I suspect there aren't more than 6 to 8 decks in a tournament like Mythic Championship, other than truly individual people who have a hard time being competitive because they don't have 8 to 10 pros to practice with. That's right. I'm sort of also trying to watch Ryan to make sure he's not running into trouble because life is low.
Oh, I
Obviously,
always run into trouble. The question is, am I punting? But that was good.
drop out a drain first. Just get your life up to 9. Well,
Uh,
actually, it doesn't really matter. You can do either way.
I think
You've got 2 drains, and you're going to start to fairy bouncing them.
yeah, I guess let's start with get our life total up. So, this might even produce a scoop. Sometimes the specter of any life gain at all, and this fistful of cards. I mean, we got a 4 for 1 there, so
yeah, that's sort of what I'm doing. Sorry, the reading chat responding to a why certain decks aren't in the metagame which is a great question and complex. Anyway, I think this deck is viable enough to be good. I think people were a little surprised at the lack of aggro in this metagame, or maybe they weren't. The other thing is this is a format that, while isn't primarily fires dominates. You can't think about this format without thinking about how fires does. Isn't this amazing how Drown the Lock does right here? Look at that card. Is that not sweet for everything?
well, I was just questioning it actually because we couldn't counter anything there. Now we can, and it's going to be good.
Right, but now you can. You have to think about it in a different perspective. It's like this weird, the best turn 4 or 5 counter spell ever. It comes in when it needs to.
Right.
It's not an early counterspell. Actually, from a play design, it's as good as they get. By the way, that is the way a lot of your aggro fights go.
Yeah. Well, it had the sweeper, and then aggro like this has a tough time overcoming that sweeper, especially if they overcommitted. They played a land on the last turn before, or played a creature, another creature that was kind of superfluous to their win. Anyway, it's tough to know whether to overcommit on that front or not. I mean, they might have just not found it, Dionysus. Why nobody took it? Like, we don't know what testing they did, what conclusions they came to, and what decks they tried. But the answer is either they didn't see this particular combination of cards, or they tried a similar combination of cards and decided they didn't think it was the best?
There's also this interesting perspective of the way the social environment works in a Magic team. You really only have usually one strong voice and a couple of weak voices, even though the team might have 16 or 20 players on it.
Mm-hmm.
And that gives usually a gap in the information. I mean, I think eventually the quote best team will come out will be one that solves the communications gap. And I can theorize and discuss what would be ideal for how you make a better communicating Magic team. But right now they're done, ad hoc under the model of a bunch of people in frat house. And that's sort of the model that is used for communication and play testing. And that's probably not optimal for gaining group information. It is optimal for gaining information of several people who are top experts, but I don't believe that's as good on this question.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad you see a control fight here. So this is pretty clearly going to be Planeswalker fires.
Yeah, so you're like Tef here, or if they're fires,
So,
maybe it doesn't even matter. Like we go
well,
Narset
no, so
first.
drop out Narset. Yeah. You want to get a counterspell, but not necessarily, or you want to get discard. You're really going to try and exhaust them more likely than not in this particular fight. It's
Does
interesting.
Foretold have any kind of role?
Oh yeah, Doom's great. Doom is awesome.
We have a Tef. Do you would take the first Doom or the second Tef?
Take the first Doom.
Okay.
Doom. This gives us one of our answers for them. With the Doom Foretold, when they drop out, okay, like their Narset, you can make it die.
Great. We can make it die and sack our own.
You make their it's a fairies die, yeah, their fires die, but sure, whatever. Okay, here, use your rider.
Really, with the well, I guess they're a little bit away from the.
Play the Doom after they play their fires. Remember, when fires doesn't let you drop anything out of your hand. It only lets you drop things out of your hand.
Ooh, we can take Oath instead.
All sorts of gas. Yeah.
Thought Erasure is pretty good.
This is an incredibly hard question. That is all gas. They're all good. I probably wouldn't take Oath because you've got Rider for the other one, but Thought Erasure will drop your 6 spot. Absorb, you can counter one of the things they drop, and Narset gives you more gas. So the only one I'd eliminate is Oath.
Yeah, I think, and we have another Narset already, so I'm eliminating Narset. We have one in play and one in hand, so I think it's Erasure or Absorb, and Erasure doesn't let us 2 spell, so I'm just going to take Absorb.
Okay.
They know about it. That's the reason to take Erasure, I guess, maybe is that we're fully telegraphed.
Take Erasure.
Well, it's too late.
Take Erasure. Okay.
Too late. I already absorbed. But yeah, I think I would like to take. If I could go back, I'd take Erasure.
Kill their. Whoops. Oh well.
Well, we chose. I was keeping the Absorb up because it's a fires deck, and I didn't want them to find fires.
Oh, I'm sorry. So I would probably have gone counter that.
Really, counter the Shimmer?
Yeah, counter the Shimmer. This is a very weird style fight.
I guess they don't have any red other than to cast Planeswalkers.
They're looking for something. You are actually aggro control in this fight, and that's one of the reasons, maybe an answer to why people didn't find it.
There's Rider now.
You could Rider now. You could also Doom now. You could also Teferi now.
I might counter.
You could also Narset too now. Although I think I'd do it all. First. I think I would Doom first so I can play my other Narset after using up the first one.
All right.
And having an
follow your lead.
Going. I mean, they're going to be uncomfortable letting it sit there.
I think we just got them on land. Like they just they're stuck on red.
Right. And remember, fires, you can only play a card up to the number of lands that they have.
Right.
Yeah, exactly, Guru. You play a Doom, and you can watch your opponent make mistakes.
They basically time walk themselves, and
They do all sorts of bad stuff because they know that they're not familiar with the environment, and so Oppo doesn't really know which way to go because this is your format, not theirs. Suddenly. So this is a fine time for some of your 3-drop planeswalkers.
yeah, we could
Yeah,
go
that's
Teferi, bounce Doom Foretold if we want to.
no.
The two fancy play syndrome. Then I guess we're
Yeah,
dropping Narset.
Go with Narset. Yeah, it's keeping you a blue-black. Maybe we'll get us something to fetch in their hand.
Drown seems reasonable. They're at 3 in their yard. That counters a lot of stuff, and certainly they're not taking the cry, so it kind of picks itself here. Another Tef. Maybe we don't need that.
Yeah, I think it's fair. Get rid of it. What you really want here is Citadel. Oh, that was sweet.
Yeah, that'll be good next turn.
Mm-hmm.
Chandra couldn't stop anyway. We can at least murder her. We'll start taking 1 a turn, but we can handle that.
You are at 19 life. You're not actually on what you'd call a clock.
All right, but now we definitely have to ride, and then we have from there Thought Erasure or Teferi.
You could actually Thought Erasure first, just to see what's coming.
I only drag this out. Actually, I do this just to see how it's going to auto tap. I know it might scare people if I'm sequencing, but I just like to see what it's going to try and cast. But yeah, I think we can Narset first.
Or Narset first. That's correct.
And we want that veto? Probably just the veto. Counters like everything their deck does.
It does. You see how you're suddenly building up just this crazy strong hand here.
Yeah. And let's erase.
Take the threat. Take the Sarkhan.
Well, I guess they could find... Yeah, they can cast Sarkhan next turn. Okay, so we'll take Sarkhan, and definitely don't want that against this deck.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got to do some murder.
Well, sure.
I mean,
go ahead. Go for it.
Do while it's tapped out, right?
They're gonna get their thing out, but that's okay. They don't get the card off of it, and you'll be able to chase it off in a second.
Oh yeah, I wasn't even too concerned if they went with.
Right. They're in pretty sketchy shape at this point.
Although, also, we can just pay 2 life and then we can drown it in the lock anyway.
Yeah.
It just means we don't get the veto, but we can drown.
Yeah, they do get to fire 2, but I guess that's okay.
Well, counter 1 and then we'll solve the other, right?
That works. I mean, it's not going to be too hard because you've exhausted them.
Right.
And they don't even get their card off of their Teferi.
Why not?
Narset.
Oh, right. I don't read.
Yeah.
I don't remember Planeswalker passives.
Yeah, there we go. That's the realization of Narset.
Yes. Dun, dun, dun. All right,
so,
nice.
I mean, this is kind of amazing. And the thing is, the deck, you're not going to see this if the person hadn't been solo, if he had been on a team. I'm not familiar with the player really at all who came up with it, who's had half of the build. Alexander Hain. I don't know if anyone's familiar with him or not.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I know his story, but not. I don't know. He does have a team. I just don't know if he has a team for this event.
I mean, and again, serious props. He's just a couple of cards from where he needed to be. I felt
almost found it.
Yeah, it was almost there. as I said, and I assume you're enjoying this deck, or that you were enjoying that deck. It should be a fun, right up your alley.
Oh, I do like those. I mean, with constructed, like, what is my alley in constructed? Because I love. I mean, I like a cavalcade deck. I love beating down with a good slide deck, but the other end of the spectrum is very appealing too, and definitely these Esper grind them out strategies are pretty appealing too.
So the next deck you've brought up. So this deck is probably going to be the rogue winner from the format. So I mean, it's absolutely amazing, and I have copied it. I brought this over.
This looks made up. This looks like the kitchen sink.
It's not. It's actually just stone cold brilliant.
Tell us how you really feel.
I mean, yeah. Well, Shota's decks are always really crazy good. This is a Shota deck, thus my not touching it. Now, the thing is, I had been working on it and I missed part of the solution. So, what I had realized as soon as Oko was banned was Fires and Golos were the two key cards, and whatever deck worked that built around those would dominate. Because that gives you 8 ways to basically drop ridiculous numbers of things. Now, the thing that I had missed was, and what I was struggling with, was getting the mana base to work. This is the mana base that works. It's the combination of a lack of low-end aggro, and then so you have the ability to, play Growth Spiral, and more importantly, I completely missed the Beanstalk Giant as being the key card there. Anyway, behind all of this deck is crazy hard to play, crazy good. I also want to bring up Casualties of War. Both Shoko and who else was? Oh, Reed had also, I think, realized that Casualties of War could easily be the dominating card over the next 2 days. Remember, Fires only, this is the land destruction part. I was a little surprised there wasn't some rogue red land destruction deck.
I would really punish Fires.
Well, Fires has to have the number of lands equal to the spell it casts. So you can keep Fires somewhat at bay with stupid things like that.
All right, let's try it.
Yep, super hard to play. Fair warning.
I got this. Constructed is my wheelhouse. He lied.
This one, I mean, I have nightmares playing it. It is just so hard. I think the difference between being in the Mythic Championship and discussing it is the ability to play this deck well. But that looks awfully fine, doesn't it?
Sure does. Breeding Pool into Vantress will give us the least painful turn 2 spiral. Throw the Temple tapped.
Yeah, through the tap temple.
No sense taking any damage, and then we have Fabled untapped next turn.
Also, we get Beanstalk Giant next turn.
Interesting. I don't usually see Innkeeper in a green-red deck. Usually it's...
It's there now. The new red deck you're going to see this weekend plays...
Because of Lovestruck and stuff?
Well, it plays Lovestruck, it plays the Dwarf, it even plays the Artifact Destruction, and of course it plays the 4/3 Shock.
All right, so we're getting setting up for Golos to an extent here? Getting our red and black, basically?
That seems good.
we got another Fabled Passage coming.
Mm-hmm. I was really surprised at how few basics this deck gets away with, but again, the mana base just works.
Well, it seems like you do need some. Do you just lose if you don't Spiral or Fertile Footsteps early? Do you need to mulligan until you have one of these two cards in your opener?
I think the assumption's made that there's no mono red in the format, and that the number of aggro is fairly limited. And if you see it, remember, they're playing best of 3, so they think they can take it 2 in the others. And remember, this isn't really a lot of pressure.
No.
I mean, you're down to 15 life, and you've done nothing.
I need to do that, but I suppose we want to thin.
Yeah, might as well thin it.
All right, now what are we looking to do here? Do we want to wait till we can get a Krasis bigger than 5? Like get a 6/6 so that can block? We can go Golos.
Think so. I think you need to put a Krasis, a 4/4 Krasis out, but this is one of those ones that's really hard to tell. And yes, that was a good warning from Eagle. Beware that there's probably an Ember Cleave coming in soon.
Oh, when I said make Krasis 6/6, I mean wait, like not play the Krasis so that we can get Krasis to a 6/6.
I think you need to play it right now.
We can play Kenrith, and it's a 5/5.
Sure, or go with Kenrith.
Yeah. This is... Ooh, we could be really risky and try and find an untapped land. I'm going to gamble.
Okay.
I'm a gambler. Gambled and lost.
You still have to play... You need to play the 2/2 now, then.
Okay.
From the Krasis. Make sure you fetch.
Folks, I wouldn't have gambled that if there was anything on the line. I get loose.
Make sure
loosey-goosey. Yeah. Hold on. Oh, we can't even catch. Oh, here we go. This.
Yes.
This. No. Now I punted on Hourglass. Well, I got greedy and then got roped. I'm going to scoop this one and try again with a fresh slate. Why am I loose and constructed? Because it's the end of my week. It's there's no stakes. I tend to be driven by stakes. I don't need much stakes, but when there's nothing on the line, I play a little looser, and I'm okay with that. We did not have one of the 2 ramping spells. We do have a Tef on 3,
I think I'd keep it.
And we're going first.
Fëanor, that's probably a good observation.
Keep that fires.
Yeah, that seems reasonable too.
I mean, yes, if you're trying to maximize your win percentage or something. But I don't know. Maybe you can make the argument, but because it's so greedy, you have to make more greedy plays. That you're just like part of it. What it's doing is trying to get there. But that was just to be cute. I was just tempted by it. We have nothing to play here, so we're going to enter and tap. But what do we want? We want to make sure we have Teferi next turn. So let's get our white source out, since we know this is our intent anyway. And we'll keep the colors spread and drop the Stomping Ground, pay 2. It's looking like a Simic Flash deck, so I'm expecting you to get
drop out of Teferi, see if you can get a quick win.
We'll get well, either this resolves and we win, or it's probably going to get quenched, but it's okay. I mean, 50, D, I don't know what you want, man. Like, I am what I am. I'm playing the way I want to play. You can leave. See ya. Or you can understand that even if I play loose, the discussions we're having are real, and they reflect, like, if I do something loose, like let's take the loose play I just made, well, you've got chat and Jay all saying, yeah, you shouldn't have done that. So your knowledge is exactly the same. You're still getting the input on how to like properly play the deck or whatever. And I'm having a little fun, and that's okay. If I had hit the land, it would have been sweet. So I pulled the slot machine handle and had fun with it.
So you're in the interesting position, of course. So here you get the fires out, and then fires drops out your other Teferi.
Right. But we start
because you do have the land issue that keeps you from playing the big stuff.
Yeah. Keep bouncing.
Mm-hmm. And it's just going to get better and better. Oh, good. They gave...
we get Teferi back. Thanks.
Yeah, this is... So you have an interesting position here.
Do we have any activation? So we have nothing to do on their turn because we have no... Although we could draw something, potentially. So we could like play Teferi and try and draw Kenrith or something.
They have got to have a counter spell in hand, I mean, for that, given that play.
Yeah. So we give them...
Well, I would give them a growth spiral.
Now they're going to let that resolve, though, right? And then we get...
Yeah, and then we get 2 more lands out. Remember, the number we need to get to 7.
Okay.
And they, in all fairness, can't really counter 2 threats a turn forever. And we don't really have 2 good threats anyway. Oh, that was some gas.
So go like... Oh, now with Kenrith, do we want to...
It just...
Pay 2?
You're fine. You've got the blue one available. Enter it. Put it in tapped.
We just don't need the black is the main thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
No, you don't need to
That's
pay.
what I was checking, because black was the color we didn't have. So if we wanted to activate Kenrith's black ability, we would have to enter that tap.
So I would probably drop Teferi. Yeah, drop the land, but then drop a Teferi for your second spell for the turn. Let him counter that one.
Okay, yeah, save Kenrith for later.
Yeah, save Kenrith for the next turn. As we know, they're probably going to hit it with a negate. Yep.
Yes. We're protected against Quench. And actually, if we draw a land... Oh, yeah, we're protected against Quench because of the fire, so that's nice.
Oh, this looks like this will go well.
Yeah.
Well, let's drop a Kenrith.
Try this one. Yeah, they might not have an anti-creature counter, but yeah, we could have maybe done it last turn.
We could have tried it. It might have been a reason. Honestly, it's actually even an interesting thought. Yeah, I think ours is better than theirs. No rush on using the abilities.
Yeah, what are we trying to do with it here? Gain 5, draw a card.
We don't. Okay. We're not really looking to swing. We're probably just going to draw a card, but we could gain 5 or 10, for that matter.
Oh yeah.
10 life is always 10 life versus drawing a card is an interesting question here, especially since you've got the Craxus on the.
Wait, how do we get 10 from it? You just mean draw?
You just activate it twice.
Twice, but I mean it takes mana, right?
You've got the mana.
Oh, I see. Never mind.
3 times 2 is 6.
I thought I didn't see that as 3.
Yeah,
it's really tiny.
It is.
Let's gain a ton of life. Demoralize them.
Depress them. Yeah. And it feels better using all your mana.
All right. Oh, and someone was asking about how the Crasis works. You can choose to pay mana to cast it. If you choose it as 0, it'll just die. But if you choose to spend, you can actually cast and spend as normal. So now, what do we want to do, though? Do we want to cast the big Crasis?
So Guru, I might challenge you on that question. So yeah, drop the big craze. Well, you've got the land engine, and you've got to want to put your
Woo,
land out.
woo. You garbled a little bit
Um,
there, but
that's the first thing.
I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna pay
Oh,
2
you
life.
want to put your land out.
In case we
Land is
want to
good.
max Krasis. Start with Agent, see if they want to counter that.
I would draw a card first.
Off of Kenrick? Kenrith? Kenrith?
Yeah, draw a card off.
All right. Probably not what we want to play, so
So
then...
Guru, the only reason I was challenged, well, that is kind of interesting. Well, you get 2 cards to play, so play a Growth Spiral.
you want
There's no reason not to.
Oh, right. Yeah. Because
play the Spiral.
I was thinking the activating Kenrith felt like casting a spell, so in my head our spell count was 1 when that's not actually what happened.
And we don't want to play the gas right now. Play that. They'll counter it. You're just drawing counters at this point. So we are definitely going to outvalue them, Guru, like we were talking about. The question is, the thing about Flash is you have to keep up with the pressure they put on you. It's actually a kind of fast deck. That's why I really didn't mind getting the 10 life instead of 1 card, since we're going to be able to draw all we want to soon enough anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they can bounce Kenrith, but this deck doesn't really have the tools to kill Kenrith. Anything we do besides gain life? We can put a +1/+1 counter, or yeah, that's it.
I would just gain life. I mean, make sure you don't have to worry about their offense. And remember, you're threatening Time Spiral next turn, which is probably scoop for them. As odd as it sounds, Casualties of War might be the draw card. It's kind of a funny way to look at it.
Were you saying cast this or not? WZJ?
Yeah, you're back to having 2
Well,
2 turns. Do you have me?
Yeah, you're bouncing in and out.
Ryan, am I coming through?
You are in and out. In and out. In and out.
My
Here, let's do this.
Rubbed raw, and I was a little concerned. Yeah, draw the casualties. That's the less important spell.
Let's go here and here.
Which creature?
I went with the Cutthroat. Preserver and Cutthroat can both get awfully big, but this doesn't look like they have the counter, so I think we're going to be safe to just time wipe. Do we want to do anything with Kenrith before we time wipe? Probably draw a card.
Yes, you do.
And
draw a card.
And wait, have we done making sure we've... What turn is it? How many how many spells have we cast? All right, let's draw a card. It's tough. I want a spell count on this fires.
Almost never
remind myself of Golos is now interesting. I just could do the time wipe though, but we should go life gain first. Might have lost Jay. I think I'll try and restart that call.
I may be back.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
I swapped over network feeds. I was having some sort of weird Xfinity problem. But you were playing correctly. You were drawing with, you drew out with the casualties, and Golos here is horrifically scary as well. I mean, your hand is full of gas.
Yeah. Can we even cast Golos and activate? That'd be
You could get, remember though, you still only get one spell out,
right.
but it does give you more choice and more lands.
Maybe wait then. Do it next turn. I'll go. Let's get a temple. Something to scry. Make that one go away.
It depends on what you have. I mean, I don't think it's bad to activate it right here. But either way, or you could just drop the giant.
Yeah, I'm gonna get or Kenrith again when they have no
Kenrith
counter.
is
I'm gonna
always
go
good.
with Kenrith. It just seems like.
Don't forget, Kenrith can give you haste, so you can. It's time to start punching.
Yeah, that's true. We can do that.
And it's all creatures, so you get to bring Golos in.
That was
That
enough.
works too.
Cool.
Isn't this kind of an amazing deck?
It's funny.
I mean, you just went up against your hardest fight in the format, and pretty much sailed through it. This is, sort of the deck that I'm betting on to be the dark horse to be in the final 8.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Teferi with no counter was pretty lucky because they have negates and they have quenches in those decks usually. I mean, we didn't see a quench, but presume they were in there.
Mm-hmm.
This looks like a mulligan. It's just not doing anything soon enough.
I think so. Yeah. And that looks like gas.
That looks nice. We'll keep 6. Do we
Put
ditch
back
a land
a
even?
No.
Because we have 2 of those.
You got 2 Teferis. Put one back.
All right.
Don't be greedy.
Don't be greedy. It's a tough ask, but I'll try. We want land though, so keep the Vantress, or do we bin it, figuring we'll find our lands?
You're going to find your lands.
Yeah, actually, we don't have white yet, so we actually need to bin it because it doesn't actually cast a fairy.
That's a good excuse too. I know actually it was just you wanted to be greedy.
That's certainly a factor. No question that's a factor. We're going to pay the life and I'm going to spiral. Looks like we're up against another potential Simic Flash deck. No sense having this countered.
Mm-hmm.
No.
No, not here. We need a white. No, actually, we're up against other elementals aggro, probably.
Ooh. Does that have
It's
swamps?
minor. Yeah, it can often play Golos and go 5 color.
We didn't find our white source. I'm going to...
Growth Spiral's good.
Yeah, Growth Spiral again. Just trying to see if there's any reason to wait or not wait. Don't need 2 fires.
But it is plan B on getting the land out. And the Teferi out, for that matter.
Yeah.
Who needs white?
Fire Mirror.
Okay.
Whoa. What about Grazer in this deck? Is that the extra ramp it needs?
It's a ramp. I'm not sure it's the ramp it needs, but it is the ramp it often plays. I'm not a big fan of Grazer in the builds. I vastly prefer this one. And Fëanor and Guru, yeah. I don't like the fact that Simic Flash is as solid as it is right now. It's a little bit metagame stifling.
Greedy minus on my part or Oppo's part? I felt like ours was safe. Like they didn't have any way to attack us. Greedy minus on their part, though, maybe. Yeah.
You need to top deck a land.
Failed to top deck the land. Is that just completely donezo? Well, play another
Still
fires.
drop the fires.
Play another fires.
Yep.
Really burning this thing down.
But you'll top deck a land on the next turn, and that'll all be good.
See? Second fires.
But see, casualties.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
this looks bad.
Oh, that's especially bad because I meant to do it the other side and cast for 1.
Didn't matter.
Didn't matter, but that was what I was trying to do at least. All right, we're going to give this one more run. We're going to get one more good game out of this.
So I meant to ask you, and this was sort of a general question, Ryan. What do you think about the way the metagame has worked for Throne? I feel like it's been really kind of poor in a lot of ways.
Well, it seems, I mean, it was dominated. We've barely come out of the Oko haze and have fallen right into now just kind of what feels like a 2-deck format-ish in terms of fires and ovens.
Yeah, it doesn't have aggro as a viable strategy. I felt like there's often this hyper focus on core mechanics from some of the sets that come out that prevent you from having flexibility in design. And I think part of this, and please don't consider the fact that I'm being critical of something I think comes from Rosewater that as a negative for him. It's just his style of design tends to lead to strongly formatted and structured sets, which gets away from the ability to do design work by having individual cards that can stand up to the core mechanics, if that sort of makes sense.
I think so. So you're saying like that top level initial design, if maybe too specific or prescriptive, can hamstring later design from being able to make the cards it needs to make to get the environment it wants?
That is to get the environment that is fun. But yes, I think that's really the issue. It's by pushing everything into adventures. I mean, Fires was fine, except it had it has a little bit of a balance issue. I also might question whether you really want to make a card like that. But I mean, the concept of Fires could be, if Fires had just been red cards, it would have been fine. And it would have been interesting, and it would have been a great card.
Yeah, I think we want that because then we can spiral. We haven't been able to growth spiral here.
Mm-hmm.
So the implicit fixing from Fires is the power issue, asks David.
Well, I think it's the multiple color issue. It's kind of weird for red to be the color to cast 5, to be the 5-color color. Fires lets you cast Casualties of War. I don't quite, I mean, while creatively I guess that lines up, you don't really expect red to be the 5-color color.
Mm-hmm.
That's, I think, the problem. It breaks the color wheel so badly.
I'm going to go to Fairy here. Minus, well, I'll tell you my line, and you can tell me what you think about it. I'm going to minus the Reaper, and if they want to oven it, that's fine by me. And I assume Reaper's going to go back to hand. We'll get a card out of it, and then, or they can kill the Reaper. That's totally fine with me. But I'm giving up to Fairy as a hand wavy turn, because what it sets up for next turn is Beanstalk Giant with 1 extra land up into an untapped land that we can growth spiral from. So I just
honestly, that's a really good argument. I'm not gonna challenge
accept.
it.
Oh, it maybe. Oh no, we have breeding pool, so it works. We need 2 sources of green.
Right. No, I think your thought process was really good there. Completely legit. You're probably 3 life points better than what I was looking at.
So then, unfortunately, we have to hurt ourselves to do this. But we go. Actually, it doesn't even matter. We'll start here and get the other half of breeding pool. So either the island or the forest.
So Feanor, I feel like it should have been a green card. Maybe I'm still a little bit too old school thinking green should be the 5-color, but that's still my feel.
Yeah, it could have been an interesting
It would have been a great green card. The only problem is they've gone so crazy on green creatures in this set.
Yeah, and also blue is the new blue and black are kind of the colors of cast stuff without cost, but maybe that's cast your stuff without cost, not my own stuff.
Mm-hmm. It certainly, if I think the answer is just they shouldn't have built fires the way they built it. They should have just made it red cards. If fires had just said play, 2 red cards a turn, great.
So do you think if they banned fires and they banned what's the best card in Simic Flash?
The wolf.
Fires.
Although they might be able to get by without the wolf now because they made so many little ones.
Right. That's the thing. Yeah, I'm trying to think what you ban out of Simic Flash that's like the linchpin, and I think what makes the deck work is that there is no linchpin.
Negate.
Yeah, negate, right? But I'm just thinking anyway. If you kick the legs out of, you ban oven, you ban fires, and you ban somehow the core of Simic Flash, then what does standard look like? Do we like it then?
The problem is we've banned all the cards.
Yeah, well, not all of them. There's a lot of magic cards.
There are a lot of magic cards, but this is sort of why I'm disappointed in a lot of the cards in the set.
Ooh, that is tempting. Do we have time to make that work? I mean, they just make us sack it with priest, so it's all about life gain and card draw. Probably not. We can treachery next turn.
Right. You're going to get
Invention
a
treachery.
Treachery. I think you want the Craxus just because you need a life gain effect.
Okay, I'll keep it. I don't think it's our play next turn, but I can keep it.
Right. I think it's the turn after next, assuming you don't get crushed. So.
Oh yeah, Fnatic. I'm not suggesting that Wizards should go and ban stuff aggressively until because there's a new powerful deck. There's always going to be a most powerful deck. Mostly just a musing on what would emerge as the meta if that happened. And we'll go crypt tapped for.
And part of what I think may be the problem is you don't have sufficiently good spell base. As they've reduced the quality of spells, they haven't made good enough spell-based threats in the 2 and 3 casting cost other than the planeswalkers.
What are we taking here?
You've got to take the oven. Anything else gets sacked.
Yeah, true. Although they had to sack we could take priest itself, right? Because it's 2 other creatures.
So it was
the
oven.
All right, sure.
You just take the oven. The oven's a quarter of their engine. They'll cry.
Hooray! Now
and the whole
we are
purpose
cooking
of
with
this
Crisco.
next turn, you get the Craxus out, and you play it using the left side cast, not the right side cast.
Yes, I'm gonna click correctly this time.
And then you get a bunch of life, and you do bad things to them. Speaking of bad things,
yeah, we could do that. Foundry, if we pay, actually hurts us more
You've
than
got
just.
a fires out.
Well, I know, but I'm talking about Krasis for X.
Yeah. What is your X? Oh, you're right. You are
5.
one off. Don't pay 2 life to gain a life. You don't need to.
Yeah. All right. So then let's go 5 on Krasis. Almost did it, but stopped myself. See what's coming. I don't think we need Row Spiral no more. Yeah, well, casualties or Beanstalk.
I would probably go with casualties. You get to take out their food as well.
Yeah, and some land and
Yeah,
just everything but enchantment here. We want land, creature, and artifact.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we'll go with this priest and this. There we go.
They can, I suspect, see the end coming.
7 mana to steal 1 mana. I have to correct you. That was 0 mana to steal 1 mana. All right, well, we will pre-sack and get some food out of the deal. Which actually won't be... it's kind of a welcome addition here as we're looking to turn a corner. Ways to turn a corner. How about Golos?
How about Golos?
I'm just going to start here.
That seems like a good place. And then you can go with activating it after the trigger.
Then we can go with wrapping up the stream after Oppo scoops before it even hits the battlefield.
Yeah, Oppo's tanking.
Baskinus is saying, all right, we're going to play this out.
I guess I'll see what the things that come out are.
Let's temple for the scry.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had some seafood pie. I don't know if Hydra is not necessarily a seafood, is it? It's a reptile.
Dump the land, yeah. All right. Spin the wheel.
Sure.
Wheel of Golos. Oh, those are all good. Oh, 2 of them.
Just
choose
time
your
wipe
voice.
it.
Both win.
I'd take Kenrith.
Sounds good. Don't forget you can play your land off of that thing.
Right. Looks good.
Yep.
If I kept red, I could have been hasty, but I think we didn't want to attack anyway. Not until we can get him in a turn, make Beanstalk and...
Not make Beanstalk. Pump life to 30.
Oh, yeah, sure. That does it too. I mean, the beauty of Kenrith and Fires is we get to do all of that.
Yeah.
And actually, I think we let Golos go here.
Sure. I think Kenrith is probably better, but...
Well, Golos does give us another shot at 2 spell. Like, we might just draw a land and only 1 spell next turn anyway. But
you really want to get the
life. Yeah, good point. Kenrith's life gain is where it's at. All right.
There we go. Anyway, I suspect that's the deck you're going to see in the top 8. This is the Rogue deck. And then you're going to see a million copies of that build.
Well, you saw here first, folks. Golos Fires on Going Optimal. Thank you, Jay, for bringing some more cool decks to the table.
My pleasure. Watch the Mythic this weekend, folks. It should be fun.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Watch. I assume Marshall's doing coverage and stuff. So.
Oh yeah.
See our old friend there. But yeah, thank you so much for stopping by, Jay, with a new set of decks for us to try out. Those were both very fun, and I'll kind of mix them in my daily grind scheme. So
Sounds great. I will talk to you all soon. Catch you next week.
See you, Jay.
Bye.
And I'm going to say goodbye to YouTube right now. Thank you for YouTubers for hanging on for our constructed segment today, and we'll catch you next week for some draft. See ya.